What's going on, everybody? Garrett back here. I want to talk about one of the greatest horror movies ever made. Not just the movie itself, but I want to talk about its history on physical media. Now, the reason I want to talk about the history of this movie on physical media because it just had an awesome 4K release that I want to kind of get into and talk about with you guys. But why not just do everything? Why not talk about its history on physical media before we even get to that brand new 4K? And I am talking about 1985's ReAnimator. When it comes to ReAnimator, this was a movie that my uncle had showed me as a young kid. When I say young kid, I'm talking like preteens. He showed it to me on VHS and told me this is one of the greatest horror movies of all time. Like I've said before, my uncle's really the one who got me into horror. And when it comes to specific movies, he kind of put them on a Mount Rushmore of horror movies. And one was Phantasm, Exorcist, Last House on the Left, Hills Have Eyes, like all these different movies that he said were the absolute best in the genre. And one of those movies was, in fact, ReAnimator, the 1985 horror kind of comedy by Stuart Gordon and also produced by Brian Yuzna, but this was based on a story from H.P. Lovecraft called Herbert West, ReAnimator. It was loosely based on that story, but this is about a young medical student named Herbert West, who was played by Jeffrey Combs. It's the first time I'd ever seen Jeffrey Combs in anything, and man, I totally fell in love with this Herbert West character. But he invented a serum, a reagent serum, where he said this could bring people back to life. Now, him and his classmate Dan, who was played by Bruce Abbott, they started to trial this reagent on deceased bodies at the morgue and on animals and stuff like that to kind of see if this thing really worked. What an all-star cast here. Like I said, you do have Jeffrey Combs, Bruce Abbott, you have Barbara Crampton, who plays his girlfriend, and the one and only David Gale. I've talked about this movie before. I absolutely love it. If you haven't seen it, I definitely would check it out. But what I want to talk about today is kind of the history that this thing's had on physical media. It hasn't had a ton of releases, but this is one movie that I feel like most of their releases have been super cool, kind of like really nice, pristine editions. And I want to showcase what I have and what I don't. Now we're going to start off the way I saw this thing, and that was on VHS. I had that tape, but unfortunately that kind of hit the purge of 2008. I've talked about that whole thing before. If you want to check out the purge of my VHS collection, you can check out that video here. But this was part of the purge, unfortunately, because I did own this on DVD at the time that I got rid of the VHS. Now, this was a Vestron video VHS. I absolutely loved it. I would love to go back and acquire this again. It really kind of bums me out that I did get rid of it because it was the first time I'd ever seen it, so it does mean a lot to me. It was the first time I'd ever seen the movie. It was a cool looking VHS too. It kind of had like a bottom piece that was blue where all the credits and stuff were, but very cool Vestron video VHS that I wish I still had in my collection. Now, in the 90s, this did spawn some Laserdiscs. I was never a Laserdisc collector. I just didn't really ever see them out. And at that time, I was so young, I probably couldn't afford it anyways. But Laserdiscs weren't anything that were really around me. They weren't at video stores. I never saw them at stores. I didn't know anybody that was really collecting them at that time. But they did spawn a couple Laserdiscs in the 90s. You had just kind of a regular one in the early 90s. Then you had like a 10th anniversary edition in 96. So again, 2 Laserdiscs are part of this physical media history that unfortunately I don't own. Now those Laserdiscs were put out by Image Entertainment, and then later in the 90s it went to DVD for the first time, and that was put out by Elite Entertainment, put out the DVD in 1997. It was just kind of a plain standard DVD. I did have that as well that I have sold, unfortunately. But yeah, that was kind of more of a standard DVD. And the reason I sold that is because in 2002, Elite put this out again in an awesome Millennial Edition. Now check this thing out. This Millennium Edition. This is the one that I think most people are going to remember on DVD. Look at how cool this was. This is one of those thick boys, those thick boxes. Again, which we later see with Anchor Bay, but Elite had this thing early in the 2000s for ReAnimator. You got that nice green case, which we kind of see later with like Xbox and stuff like that, but this was a big deal. This thing was loaded with special features. This had 2 discs. Check this out. Awesome stuff. And this had one of the coolest menu screens ever on this thing too. So Again, check this out as well. What a cool edition by Elite. It says over 6 hours of bonus material in here. It's the THX Optimizer Elite Entertainment Millennium Edition. Again, in that nice, bright green. Now, if anybody cares about physical media history, horror physical media history, and they're looking to acquire some of these really cool ReAnimator editions, this is definitely one of the OGs. Like I said, early 2000s, the second time it was ever released on DVD. This is a real cool edition that I recommend anybody who's into horror physical media history to kind of track down. And that was the edition that people had for about 5 years. And then in 2007, Anchor Bay acquired ReAnimator and started to put out some editions of their own. This was a real cool time. I mean, Anchor Bay was kind of, I would call this more of the Anchor Bay, like, second era. They were putting out a little bit more pristine editions around this time. I don't know if this is around when Stars acquired them or not, but Anchor Bay was still going strong here. We saw some real cool editions around this time. And with ReAnimator, there was no different. I mean, this thing had a standard edition with a slipcover and a deluxe edition. This is that deluxe edition. Check this thing out. Thick box, you got the Anchor Bay logo there. Very, very cool. Now, what made this special was when you opened it up, you got this in. Now, I got mine signed. It's hard to tell because he did it in green, but it says, "Hey, Garrett, parts, Jeffrey Combs." So you got this cool edition in here. And again, it's a couple discs. You get that cool poster art. You got 2 discs here. Again, full of features on this thing. Boatloads of stuff, new stuff that we saw in the old edition. But the big kicker of this thing was what you got inside, and that was a ReAnimator kind of like syringe pen. As you can see, I still have it sealed here. This was a big deal back then. HP Lovecraft's ReAnimator, cool item inside here. Anchor Bay was just doing so many cool editions. Guys, I did a full breakdown of this edition on a series I do called Anchor Bay Archives. So if you want to go check that out, feel free to go check it out and see a little bit more of this edition. And also, guys, Anchor Bay Archives is turning into a podcast, if you guys didn't know. So keep your eyes on the channel. You can find Anchor Bay Archives on Instagram. And if you have any cool Anchor Bay titles like this one, feel free to invite us to collaborate, and we will showcase your edition on the Instagram. So Anchor Bay Archives on Instagram, follow us. And again, the podcast will be debuting in June of 2025. So guys, get ready and keep your ears and eyes open. Now, like I said, there was a more standard type of edition at that time, and that was this one with this different cover art. Still a cool edition here. Look at that cover art. Very, very cool. It doesn't have as many features as the deluxe edition does. You get this one inside. Again, this is just a single edition here. Still get that same kind of card inside there, that promo card. But yeah, these both came out. You got the deluxe, limited edition, and then you got also this standard edition. But both very, very cool. The green just pops so much. And Anchor Bay put these two out, like I said, in the 2000s. But very, very cool. This was probably my favorite ReAnimator edition for a long time. And in 2012, a Blu-ray came out from Image Entertainment. So Image got the rights back in 2012. Very standard edition. It still had the similar artwork that you saw in that Anchor Bay. I did have that one. It was very bare bones. And it was one that I kind of had. And as soon as this next edition came out, that thing was gone. In 2014, I did get this cool steelbook from Cape Light Pictures. This was a steelbook of parts 1 and 2. Again, being a huge fan of this movie, I snagged this thing. This was overseas, so not everybody was able to get this at the time. Now, to have part 2, Bride, on Blu-ray, this at the time was like the only way to get it. So I did pick this thing up, and then shortly after, I think in 2016, Second Sight put out a ReAnimator Blu-ray, which I do not have. I never had it, but Second Sight did put one out. Now, as we roll into kind of the late 2000s, this is 2017, a Blu-ray of ReAnimator was put out here in the States, and one of the coolest editions ever from Arrow Video, who are one of the coolest and best boutique labels out there, gave us this bad boy. Again, the white looks super cool, awesome artwork, different than what we were used to, but I do appreciate the white. And what I liked about this too is you also got Bride, which is in a very similar type box and stuff. So they look really good housed together on the shelf. But this is a real nice edition. This is the one most people, I think, probably have. Beautiful edition, full of features. I mean, limited edition with this box. inside, you do get this cool fold out with all this cool stuff in. You get the 2 discs here. Inside, we do get, again, all these different art cards from the movie. Is the serum right there. All these cool art cards. And then you get this, which is a little fold-out book. This is a smaller little pamphlet type thing. The real book is here. This is the ReAnimator comic book. Look at that, 92 pages of ReAnimator, the comic book from 1991. So cool to kind of have this part of this set. Really, really awesome. I can show you a couple more images here from it. But man, if you're into comic books, what a cool addition to this set here is to have access to that. You've got the 4K restoration of the unrated cut, and you also get the integral cut, which is a longer edition. Basically, they're taking the theatrical cut, the unrated cut, and kind of splicing them all together to make one giant cut. You do get that for the first time here in this set. So again, this for a long time was like the set to have. The most prestigious ReAnimator set out there was this Arrow Video one. Until now. I mean, until now, in 2025, we just got this brand new ReAnimator 4K set from Ignite Films. Now, Ignite Films is kind of like a newer company. I do have some Ignite Films stuff. Invaders from Mars, I have. But this was their big bad boy right here. This was the one that's going to kind of set off what Ignite does next. And as we know now, they are going to put out Bride of ReAnimator next. But this was a huge deal for them. It kind of came out of left field. People were like, who's going to do ReAnimator? Is it Arrow? Is it this? Ignite did it. And man, I'm telling you, this could be my release of the year right now. There's 2. This and something else, which I can talk about at a later time, is up for my physical media release of the year. This thing looks great. I thought the Arrow looked great, and I'm usually the type of person that's like, hey, this Blu-ray is just fine. The 4K doesn't blow me out of the water. It's not that much difference, but I will say this. I've seen this movie hundreds of times, and this was the first time I'd watched it and felt like I was watching this movie again for the first time. Things were just looked so clear. The color was vibrant as hell. I didn't think it'd get any more vibrant than it was, but watching this, guys, I was blown away with this transfer. So bravo, Ignite Films. And I'll show you what's in here. I did do a little bit of an unboxing on a live show, but I'll get into it now. You do get the art cards. I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, but you do get them. Look at Barbara there. She's so pretty. Look at that. And inside, you do get a hardcover book. And what I like about this is it's the 40th anniversary, so all the logos have that ReAnimator 40 logo on that. I find that really, really cool. But man, look at all the goodies you get in here. Look at this. Look at all the good stuff. You guys know. Oh, the book smells great. We always are smelling the books. Second Sight's the best. This one's pretty good. This one's pretty good over here. But I love seeing this kind of stuff. Look at this, the hardcover books. Just so much cool stuff in this book about the movie itself. And again, talking about the movie itself, it is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. So this, it's just kind of a fold-out, not the coolest looking thing, very basic, which is okay, but inside you do get the 3 discs. Now again, you get same thing, integral version, unrated cut. I mean, it's got a lot of stuff in here, but like I said, the presentation is like nothing I've seen before. And the features, they've got a lot of new features on here. The one that I really, really enjoyed a lot on this was the making of this. So like they show you as they're kind of putting it through their machines and scanning this and getting the new restoration. I really like that side of it. And there was some new interviews with Yuzna and Barbara, and I really, really like that Jeffrey Combs as well. So there's a lot of new stuff on here, guys, but I really enjoy a lot of these making of type documentaries, and this one has them. So if you're on the fence about this, I'm going to say this is 100% rad approved on this new ReAnimator 4K. But guys, this is probably the best version you can get right now. But Arrow Video is amazing too. So if you're like, I just don't feel like getting this new edition, I'm having my Arrow. Keep your Arrow. It's a great addition. And I will say this, all these ReAnimators are great additions. That's why I've kept them all, except obviously my VHS, which I will get back one day. But guys, I wanted to kind of showcase not only this Ignite 4K set that I just got in, but also to kind of go back in time and talk about the ReAnimator history on physical media, because man, they've had such cool releases. Like, it's just one of those movies that every time it comes out, it's got a really cool edition. Like I said, you had that DVD from Elite that was ahead of its time back in the day. Then you had the one from Anchor Bay from back in the day, which again felt like such a glamorous edition and that everybody was kind of after. And then, like I said, you have the Arrow Video one too. So man, ReAnimator always has cool physical media stuff. I'm so glad I kept a lot of it in my collection so I can go back in time and showcase these to you guys in case maybe you didn't even know some of these existed. So guys, thank you for checking this out. Let me know down below, do you have any of these ReAnimator editions that I showcased here? And was there anything that I missed? Because again, I really was focusing mostly on what was here in the States, but I did have, obviously, the Second Sight one I knew came out, and I also own the Cape Light Picture ones. But, you know, anything that came out otherwise, I don't have, so I didn't really talk too deep about that. But let me know, is there any other really cool additions that I did not mention here today? I love going back in time and talking the history of physical media. I hope you guys do as well. This is Garrett at Born2beRad, and like always, stay